Oh, right. I'm supposed to record a reading. Right, for the art bar. Okay. Um, uh, uh, good morning, art bar. Oh, I'll, let me just wake up a second. Okay. I'm gonna start the reading. Um, on paper, both light and air are invisible and make the paper visible. Imagine which lines enclose us, make us sleep, which lies. Where is the sound in an image? The small sound of sleeping babies, the shhs as they sleep. What don't they know? What do they? Children of this planet, surrounded by light and air. They rise like a flock of birds made of nothing, only light and air. The lines of their bodies, the small lies, their small lives. The small shh from their tiny sleeping mouths and noses rise with them. What they don't know, yet rises with them also. What they know. They rise and the hand that draws them rises. Those that see them rise too. Our hands spread like small wings, and the larger breath from inside us rises, and the darkness inside our lungs, the twilight inside our half-open mouths rises. Shh, and we are in our lives like cradles, our entire life around us rising like daylight from the earth, rising from the emptiness of paper, from what is invisible. We are invisible animals, the darkness of night, drawn narrow. It's from my book, The Dark Redacted, with Donna Zoke. That was just published by Small Walker Press. I guess I should get up and go brush my teeth. So I'm just getting my teeth clean. Okay, well, hang on a second. They're pretty clean, right? So I'm going to read to you a poem. I'm in my bathroom. I'm going to read to you a poem that I wrote for Therese Mason-Pierre. It's called How to End a Poem. You're a squirrel or a mountain. Burning words are delivered in an envelope to the mother of your enemy. The mother of your enemy is a mirror. You're the mirror. A poem is a chair in a room that has a chair. You're the squirrel or the mirror that has found its way inside the mountain. Light doesn't stay with a mirror. What does this mean? To have a choice. Don't begin. Don't stop. Okay, now I guess I should get dressed. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back now. I thought I'd read a poem from a series I'm doing where I'm taking a textbook on the human body, an old textbook from 1910, and I'm inserting my own text and kind of subverting the idea about the human body and our relationship between language and the body. I'm also taking the images and the anatomical images, and I'm substituting them with visual poems, mostly about ampersands. So I thought I'd read you a poem start by reading a poem about an ampersand. Of course, the ampersand is a labyrinth, a conch shell, a saraband, a cat's cradle, an ear. How to describe hearing to a flower? Bluebell, listen. The bee creeps inside, the potential for each thing to scream, to sing, for the small and pleasant, a hand drum in the volcano of the ear. What has voice until we hear or imagine? A dog. Hearing is shaking, each thing shaking dog-like, as if wet. And here's another one. We study the body as a kind of writing, an alphabet, a single letter. What words do bodies describe? What does it mean to describe the body, to consider each heart like other hearts, each lung, each liver, each mind? How is perception like the interconnected roots of a forest? I've heard the secret samizdat of trees, or that's what they want me to think, a song of infection or of care. As we write the Anthropocene writes us. We has samizdat. Capitalism puts on its shiny sky, tries to monetize the rhizome. We declare ourselves non-sovereign, open to refugees, and to being a refugee in the non-nation of others. What's the best lullaby? One where the words have no borders. What is the language of the dead? Language is the language of the dead, ancestral as a body, freed of the chassis of flesh, bones embrace bones that were once inaccessible in the disarray of living. How we speak to the dead and they speak to us. How we speak to each other. That cartoon where dinosaurs roll ferns and smoke, the huffing of traffic crowning hills. Thinking how -1 or minus thousandths posits their opposite, +1 or plus thousandths. The past supposing the future. A bird rises into the sky and eventually we expect it to land. Before this noun, another noun. Before the flower, another flower. The answer is that the chicken is a respite between eggs. A rope in motion changes. The alphabet, always in motion, changes also. DNA is a rope and is always a dialect of itself. Pain creates new rope. Language, a prosthetic braid of nerves. First vowels, then the difficult story of time and history. A consonant broken and shifting like a supercontinent. Nounless, the world finds names for us. Clouds, a library of rain. Rain tangling becomes cloud. History becomes the words we name and are named by. The egg is able to cross the road if we wait long enough, and only if it looks both ways. And here's one that I wrote actually this morning about half an hour ago. It's part of the same project. The body is a dictionary, a phrase book, a grammar. We're always in translation and exist in two languages at once. The world is a translation of the body, and our body is the world rendered in a language we've learned to make our own. Knock, knock, who's there? The world knocking on the body, which is the world. Aren't you glad I didn't say the removal of grey matter near the fissure of Rolando? We make the sign of a swan by shaking hands. We make the petals growing around the future path of the bee. We are a cloud which moves before the wind arrives. Our body is two dancers, intertwined, shouting, singing, whispering to each other in their mother tongues, tongues which meet in this dictionary, this translation. One of the things actually I've been liking about people doing readings and meetings by Zoom, I mean, you see the physical reality, what they live in, their house usually, but also their bodies. Like I didn't brush my hair yet, and you see them. There's kind of corporality about people. You know, the lighting isn't right. They're in the weird relationship to the screen. You know, their heads cut off, or they just look more present in a way, and more you're aware of their being bodily present or maybe a non-present. So just that whole connection seems apparent rather than maybe standing behind a podium and reading with good lighting and they're all dolled up. So I kind of like this strange intimacy of distance, which I guess is a bit like writing is a kind of intimacy of distance. Also, I'm far away behind these words that I'm also speaking to you, that are bouncing off a satellite and coming into whatever you're listening to this on, and go right inside your head, into your inner ear, and and then eventually the sound waves go into your brain and are translated into sort of whatever neurochemical magic happens in there, and that maybe then is distributed through your body in shock about how poorly edited my work is, but it means that that kind of electricity and chemicals get spread through your whole body, and so that's strangely intimate over distance, right? And it's a whole bunch of symbolic forms that how we communicate with each other, how we be together in the world. Here's another one of those poems based on a line or a title from a scientific article. The line was, "Hummingbirds see colors that the human brain can't imagine." Pact of oblivion. Hummingbirds see colors that the human brain can't imagine. It's hard to describe what blue looks like. It's even harder to describe when you can't speak. New research suggests the moon is rusting, particularly at the poles, a reddish-black form of iron on its surface. In crickets, the singing species have good hearing. Under a picture of a serious-looking soldier, bayonet drawn. Some years ago, we were badly governed. Every day in the street, shots were fired. Frogs and toads hearing, with a membrane near their eyes. Insects with hearts and blood, but no lungs. Say something. By the way, I always say the word, instead of can't, I say can't. I grew up in Northern Ireland, and it's a weird vestigial pronunciation that I have left. I don't know if anybody actually says that there, but it's been transmogrified in my mouth over the years, and so that's what I say. I say very little that sounds like my Northern Irish childhood. Here I am with my co-star, the sun. I feel like I always get overshone. Here's a small prose poem. I guess I've been writing a lot about grief and loss. I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't been going to McDonald's and getting Happy Meals. I'm not certain. Tiny Wings. There's a store in town where you buy grief. Small packages line the shelves. A gangling teenager waits at the till, frowning, scratching his ear. The fluorescent lights hurt the eyes, a buzz from the lights and the refrigerator. There's music from hidden speakers. Classic rock of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, played by strings in a cave. We walk in, and we are surrounded by squirrels. Or we walk in, and suddenly we can hear the heartbeats of squirrels from everywhere in the world. Hedges, lawns, parks, trees, attics, temples, islands, grottos, oubliettes, and ditches. It's an indistinct roar we feel rather than hear. Maybe we'll die of that roar. And the grass? It is growing everywhere, sometimes to seed. The wind roars through the blades as the blades rise and the seeds begin their thin journey on the wind. We stumble or march down the shelf-lined aisles, feeling small or else too large. There are windows. An outside is visible through their smudged glass. No one has dreamed here since 1953. A calendar behind the counter shows a red car in the mountain, a dream girl resting against it. She's old now. She was old then, but not her outside. Now she sits surrounded by doilies that she makes for her grandchildren and watches cable TV. There are folded bills in one of our pockets. Our hand is in the other, holding coins. Our mother, we say. She asked for grief. Tiny wings flutter on the back of the teenage clerk, like the wings of a fly. Tiny wings move on our backs, too. They move quickly, a small blur, but they're not enough to lift any of us from the ground. I love that word, oubliette. It's like a little space in a dungeon where they just push someone in and leave them. I mean, it's an awful thing, but, you know, publishing poetry is like an oubliette. You put your poem in there and it's just left. No, but it's that weird oubliette. I mean, because it's about forgetting, and what does it mean to have, to have a life and be forgotten? So I find that really an interesting idea. Another thing I've been doing over the pandemic has been collaborating with the visual artist Catherine Hurd. She does these amazing images that are based on sort of the body as uncanny. So looking at different ways the body has been thought of or represented. So one of the things that she she did a project where she made these little figurines out of clay and a number of different things with internal organs, and then she CT scanned them, and so you have these amazing, mysterious preternatural images that are of these little little babies, little whatever they are. They're sort of in between that. They're ageless, but that have internal organs that are revealed through the CT scan. And so you have these images coming out from a completely black background, and they're very haunting and moving, and evoke for me a lot of varied emotion. So what the project we've been doing is she's been making videos, and I've been writing music and poems that go with the videos. So for that one of the little men, or the little bodies, golems, I wrote this poem. Golem. Little man, the body is a bird, a new bird, an old one, the body inside a nest. Like a ghost we are born from darkness, the nest of the body made from darkness. The body is inside the nest of time. Little man, how can we be lonely for our body? Inside the body is the nest of the heart. The nest of the heart, the tree of bones. The inside of the body is birds. The slow drip of a tap in a janitor's closet. Someone bends down to wash. Hands, forehead, chest. The slow drip of the self. The wing beats of birds heard but not seen. The roots of trees, their branches. White bones surrounded by earth. The wet mud of earth where we were born. You make a golem. You make a tongue out of earth. You make breath from the birds of the sky. The tongue turned to flame. The ancients knew that to travel from death to truth, one must but remove a single letter. Aleph, a heart, a liver, a lung, the letters like birds in the tree of the mouth. Little man, angel with a sword of fire, guarding the trees, death in their roots, surrounded by truth. Truth in the wet mud of earth, wet mud over which the shadows of birds fly. Little man, you have arrived at a circus of birds, a circus where the only show is weeping. The clouds weep, the clowns weep, the horses weep, little girls in the sideshow weep, fire eating their own grief. Little man, a bird's nest is made of humble things, straw, mud, string. Our inside made like this also. Little man, we swallow the outside like a sword. We swallow words, the names of birds, dust, death, night. We examine the world as we examine the body, its turnings, its stillness. Little man, imagine birds as the golems of flight. Nest, blue sky, cloud. In the beak, nothing but air. In the sideshow, the body is made difficult by grief. Looking, become like a whip. We are buried by night, birds dripping from the chest like rain. Little man, shaped by hands, sharpened by eyes, an aleph made of earth. The body is fueled by time. Each moment, the world begins again. Little man, imagine yourself flying, heart like a bird fallen from the nest. Grief shapes your body like a knife, the knife a tongue slicing off the beginning of words. Truth, sword, knife, death, angel, bird. The eyes are knives sharpened against looking. Little man, like a golem, you too have no childhood. Taken from the nest, now empty as a clock, now filled with leaves and bones and fire. The sound of the sun rising, then snapping like teeth. Each day the tap drips, each night. How does the body feel twilight? How does it feel darkness or light? We long for our body as if we were buried 100 miles away, our voice lost below ground. The children wish they were bones, wish they were horses, not dogs in feathers and tinsel, wish to be the whip and not the lion, but not the whip either, rather the falling rain, the dry earth become human once again. I don't know if I mentioned it, but so the artist is Catherine Hurd, And she's got an amazing website, catherinehurd.com, and you should check out the work, and including some of the work that this is based on, the sort of Golem series. I'm getting these very ominous messages from my computer saying your disk is almost full. It's almost like your cup has runneth over, and now it's all going to be spilt milk, and you will weep. So now I'm going to go inside. Okay, so now some poems from this really beautiful book, Me, Then You, Then Me, Then, that I wrote with Catherine Mockler. Who's a really tremendous poet, fiction writer, screenwriter, and it's published in this beautiful, very orange edition by Kirby at Knife Fork Book. So there are prose poems that we wrote in response to each other, kind of interweaving the themes, the tones, and the images. I really like collaborating, and I do a lot of it, both with texts of unwilling or poems that don't know I'm collaborating with them, but also, of course, with actual live consensual people who are. There is that entanglement of visions, of ideas, of being involved together in a process that we don't know where it's going. But of course, we're influenced also by the aesthetics and the sensibility of each other. So it creates a space in between us. I find it tremendous to expand how I imagine and what's possible, and to learn something from the other person, I guess, by that relationship in writing. Fog. Hitler said, "I'm inviting you to my party, but I'm warning you, no funny stuff. Besides, Mao Zedong is here, and anyone who knows anything knows that you're not the guy responsible for the most deaths, so don't start that again. And don't drink all the bud like last time. Sure, it was fun when we took the neighbor's bike and rode along the seawall together. Your mustache tickled when we kissed. Me, male, middle-aged, Jewish, gay. You, Austrian, and curious. I felt fireworks. Did you feel fireworks? Up close under the neon sign of that vacuum cleaner store, I could see the gray in your hair, the crow's feet and the network of laugh lines, your ear hair and shaving cuts. At first I thought the fog had come in from the bay, but then I realized we were surrounded by ghosts. B-I-N-G-O. My dog's name is Bingo, after the song, but he has no face, no mouth, no ears, no nose, and no eyes. So perhaps we shouldn't call him all the letters of B-I-N-G-O, but just B-I, and then silence. I think if he could hear me, he would come when I call, sit, play dead, and roll over. But he just lies on the floor and is quiet. When I stroke him, his body is soft and sleek. I think he has no lungs, since his chest does not rise and fall. I think it is a good thing, since where would the air go? How would it enter his body? It would be squeezed out of his lungs and then immediately sucked back in, unless he farted. But he has no bum either, so it would stay inside. Perhaps it is the same air that was inside him from when he was born, so it's like he has history inside him. How did it smell that day? What temperature was it? Could there still be tiny vibrations from the loving barks of his mother before he was taken away from her? My mother says I should just forget about him, but I won't. Real love is something that you don't just forget about. When we're old, Bingo and me, we'll still love each other. I'll hardly have a face, at least not one that really works, and I'll hardly be able to breathe or even move. But Bingo and me will still be together, and I'll sing him the Bingo song all the way through. And even if I can't sing anymore, I'll think it. Aid. Catherine sent me this amazing picture of just this kind of a dirty sidewalk with a Band-Aid taped or just fallen on the ground, and it was really striking. He ran outside with a knife and stabbed the ground, again and again in the same place. I hate you, he shouted. I hate your sky. I hate your dirt. I hate your ocean and all your fucking parking lots. He stabbed the knife into the ground again. I hate your fucking people and your fucking animals. I hate your fucking houses and your fucking hospitals. He stabbed the ground again and again. I hate fucking all of it, he shouted. He continued to stab until it was night, and he could not see what he was doing. Finally, wet and exhausted, he went back inside. The moon rose. A woman pulled outside and a woman walked outside and kneeled down. She took a Band-Aid out of her pocket, pulled away the backing, and stuck the Band-Aid over the place where he had stabbed the ground. Then she went back inside. I love that thing when you're reading a line and then you don't know that you're reading because it's so fluent mostly, but sometimes you pick up a word from the line below and integrate it. So that happened there, and it was bad for the literary effect. Glad I fixed it. Okay, I'll read one more from this, or maybe two more. We'll see how it goes. This one is called Tree. I have many problems, so I pretend to be a tree, enjoying a soothing night breeze, enjoying the last days of summer. It's been nice and quiet these last few days. Time for a drink. If only these cars would tone it down a bit. Where's the sun? I can feel it tingling. What a great morning to rustle. Almost blossom time. Soaking up rain so I can photosynthesize. I'm bored. It's pretty busy around here. Now clouds interrupt my photosynthesizing. I'm pissed. Maybe I'll kill a bird. The sun is really working hard now. How's it feel to be naked? Maybe I'll send this poem to a literary magazine. Maybe this afternoon it'll be a goddamn table. Maybe they'll print my own goddamn words on my own goddamn pulp. That's got to be a metaphor or a symbol or something. Thinking, I can't keep doing this, but I have to. I'm a goddamn tree. Actually, I think I'll end with, I just last year had this book of my selected poems published. It's so beautiful. I'm so delighted. Walls Ackerman published it, and Alessandro Porco edited it. He chose the poems and he wrote this amazing introduction. So what I thought I would do is I would, the first full book that I had published, I had chapbooks and things before, but the very first book was called Cruelty to Fabulous Animals, published by Moonstone Press. And I thought I'd read you the very first poem in that very first book, because I still like it. So Gary, from 36 years ago, you were all right. Down into the streets. Have you ever been outside on a summer evening when it is cool and the stars are out, and you perhaps are walking beside a hedge of tiny leaves, and you feel a cool breeze on your face, and the leaves begin to rustle? Perhaps in the distance a car drives by, and you hear a frog in the grass, maybe the sound of crickets. And perhaps you're walking beside a beautiful woman in a floral skirt who tells you that there is a purpose to life, but that only certain people may know what it is. And suppose you reach into the sky with your mile-long arms and move the stars aside a bit, and with your tongue that is longer than your arms, lick the vault of heaven until in one spot a little of the color comes off, and light comes bursting through, and both of your bodies are instantly bronzed with a perfect tan. And the beautiful woman snaps her fingers and causes the flowers in her skirt to suddenly bloom. And all around you, there are strange, gentle-eyed animals that you've never seen before. As you dive into the summer air, floating far above crowds in the city, you release thousands of your business cards that fall like identical snowflakes down into the street. I guess I should, in keeping with having woken up with you, I should, I should follow along. You should have supper with me. Then we should tuck back into bed and go to sleep and have dreams. But in reality, it's 12 noon, and I've got work to do. Here's my notebook, and I've got notes, things I've got to follow up on today, and I've got to pay my Visa bill. Though I got this really great, I'm going to look at this too. I got this really great edition of the Fiddlehead, which I've got some visual poems in it, which I'm really thrilled about, but there's also killer content from so many people, and this lovely cover by Derek Bullia and a collaborator whose name I forget at the moment. I apologize. But anyway, I'm hoping that you have a good afternoon. I've got this little typewriter that I'm going to write tiny little delicate poems on all day in order to reflect the beauty and the humanity and the great fragility of humankind. Thank you for joining me for my reading, and be well. Oh, there's that thing where people go to turn off their Zoom, and you always see underneath, they always do that thing, and then it's this weird sort of look. So I kind of like that. There should be a name for that. It's Zoom jowl, or Zoom jowl ending state. That would be the German, I guess.